In the previous class, we learnt about the structure of sugar, the sugar in case of DNA and also in case of RNA. And we also learnt about how why the DNA is the stable genetic material in comparison to RNA. So today we'll start with the nitrogenous bases, and in this we have to see the structure of different nitrogenous bases. As we saw in the earlier classes, that the nitrogen bases are of two types, that is purine and pyrimidine, and the purines were of two types, that is adenine and guanine, and the pyrimidine are of again two types, that is thymine and cytosine. So we'll see today what is their structure, which is very important to know before we go into the detail of the DNA replication or the transcription or the translation. All those processes need the knowledge of these things. That's why we are doing this before going into the detail of those big headings. And then we'll see how these nitrogenous bases, which are the base pairs, we'll see how they are pairing with each other. So we'll see the base pairing. Then third, we'll see what is the hydrogen bonding. We'll see in this only that somewhere some hydrogen bonds are formed. So what are those hydrogen bonds and how they are formed, and what are the factors affecting those hydrogen bondings, and what is the significance of that hydrogen bonding. So let us start with the structure of nitrogenous bases. Purine, as I told you earlier, are 9-membered ring structures, and first of all we'll see about adenine. So this adenine is the structure of the adenine is 9. It consists of 9 rings. Let us see how these 9 rings are formed. So this is the structure. Like if we start numbering from this, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So for nitrogen it should have 3 bonds connected with, and for the carbon it should have 4 bonds connected with. So when we are drawing some structure of these purine and pyrimidine, we should be careful, like they are nicely bonded or correctly bonded or not. So this is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 ring structure, and let us see how many nitrogen, how many carbon, and how many hydrogens are there in this. So if we first of all, if we count the carbons, so they are 1 2 3 4 5. So we can say they have 5 adenines, have 5 carbons. Now about the H, 1 2 3 4 5 hydrogens, again 5 hydrogens are there. And then about nitrogen, we will see how many nitrogens are there. 1 2 3 4 5 nitrogen. So we can say the formula for the adenine 9-ring structure is C5H5N5. And if we see here that at the 6th carbon, NH2 means amino group is attached, so we can name it as 6 amino purine, means the purine which have amino group at the 6th carbon. So we can also call it 6 amino purine. So as I told you in the previous lecture, it is purine, so at the ninth nitrogen of that purine, the C1 of the sugar will get attached. Carbon 1 of the pentose sugar, the structure we saw in the earlier class, the C1 of this pentose sugar will get attached with the N9 of the nitrogenous base, that is purine. And at the fifth carbon here, we'll see later in the detail how the phosphate is attached. It is attached at the fifth carbon of the sugar, and you know, the sugar and phosphate make the backbone of the DNA double helical structure. Like suppose this is double helical DNA, so this backbone, where I am scrolling this arrow, it is making the backbone of the DNA, and this backbone is made up of this sugar, and here somewhere the phosphate will get attached. So they are making the backbone of the double helical structure of the DNA, and in between these backbones or the backbone, there are some nitrogenous bases which are keeping these helical together connected, and those are nitrogen bases are purines or pyrimidines. So that we are going in detail today. And next is we'll do next nitrogenous basis is the thymine, that is pyrimidine, and again we know that it is a 6-membered ring structure. And like if we see the structure of the this pyrimidine, that is thymine, in detail, which is found in case of DNA only, not in case of RNA, as RNA will have uracil in place of the thymine. So this thymine consists of 6 members in this 6-member ring, that is it is 6-member ring, that is nitrogen, this one carbon, nitrogen, carbon, 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 1 2 3 4 5 6. And we see that at carbon number 2 there is keto group, and carbon number 4 also there is keto group, and then at carbon number 5 there is methyl group attached with it. And if we see, like we saw in the case of adenine, like what could be the formula for this one is, let us count, starting with the C, H and N. We will write all, and let us count C and C are 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5. So 5 carbons are there. And then the case, if we see the case of hydrogen, how many hydrogens are there? 1 2 3 4 5 6 hydrogens are there. And then nitrogen are 1 2 nitrogen. And one more thing is extra, which we can say, which was not the case in case of adenine. Here we see the oxygen is also there, and how many oxygen? 2 oxygens are there. So C5H6N2O2 is the formula for the thymine. And like what we can also name it, like at the C2 and C4 there are keto groups, so we can say 2,4 diketo or 2,4 keto also we can write 2,4 keto. And at the fifth carbon we see there is methyl group attached with it, so we can write 5 methyl, 2,4 keto, 5 methyl. Like this our structure has become so easy to learn and to remember. And here, as I told you earlier, that if it's the case of the pyrimidine, then at N1, that this one the first carbon of the sugar get attached. So like here we were seeing that at N9 the first carbon the carbon 1 was attaching of the pentose sugar in case of purine, but in case of pyrimidine the carbon 1 of the pentose sugar get attached with the N1. Now we'll see how they form bond. We all of us know that there is a base pair rule which tells us which depicts us like which particular nitrogenous base will attach with another with which another nitrogenous base. Normally purine gets attached with pyrimidines. So one to get attached, the to for the base pairing of the nitrogen bases, one should be purine and another one should be another nitrogenous bases should be pyrimidine. So here and according to that rule of base pairing rule, we see that A gets attached with T and G gets attached with C, and always A will get attached with T with the help of 2 bonds and G will get attached with C with the help of 3 bonds. This information which I am sharing with you now, it is very common. We all read from 11th and 12th onwards, we start reading all these things, and so I'm not going into detail of these things. Later on we'll see, but we'll see here how these bondings, why only 2 bonds, why only 3 bonds between G and C, and why only 2 bonds between A and C. This we are going to see. So let us see how these bonds are formed and why only 2 are formed. And before this we'll see something about thymine again, which is like thymine was it was isolated in 1993. It was isolated in 1893 by a biochemist whose name was whose name was Albrecht Kossel, and he isolated. And one more scientist was there, that he was Albert Newman, and they isolated this thymine and even also the cytosine also. They isolated from the thymus glands of calves. So like now we'll see how these thymine and adenine will pair, will do pairing. So the first of all we should know how this pairing happens. Like when there are 2 electronegative atoms, and if they are different in their electronegativity, then they share their hydrogen atoms. When one of them will be acceptor, one of them will be donor. So in case of adenine and thymine, what happens, as we see here at the carbon number 6, there is amino group present, where N is the electronegative one. Okay, and here we see in case of thymine at carbon number 4 there is oxygen which is also electronegative, but electronegativity of this nitrogen and oxygen differs. And now what will happen, that this amino group will donate its hydrogen to oxygen, and like this they will make a bond. This is bond number 1 between adenine and thymine. Now what happens about the second bond which is formed between A and T we'll see. The nitrogen number 3 of thymine has, here we can see it has a one hydrogen atom with it, and here in case of nitrogen number 1 we see that it does not have any hydrogen with it. So what will happen, this hydrogen of the N3 of thymine will get pair with the N1 of adenine. So like this, again one bond is formed between A and T. So these two bonds are formed where one H atom is donor. Here we see that this one is donor, the donor of adenine, and here this nitrogen is a acceptor. More clearly we can see this bonding, like if we make this structure in other way, I'll do it for you. I'm making this adenine and thymine again to make the bonding more clearer. That is, I'll so, and this is the case of adenine, and thymine is like H ketone. So this is this will be numbered as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I told you that this nitrogen and oxygen have different electronegativity, and this nitrogen have hydrogen atoms which it will share with the oxygen atom of the ketone at carbon number 4. So this is donor one, and here this nitrogen and this nitrogen again has different electronegativity because this one is having extra hydrogen attached with it. So this one will share its hydrogen atoms with the nitrogen of the adenine at N1, and so this one is a donor. So one is donor, acceptor. So we see that one electronegative atom is donor and one is acceptor. Like this, there are two bonds formed between adenine and thymine. Now we see the case of guanine and cytosine. What happened in the case of guanine, this is very famous, we all know about the guanine, that the guanine was reported in 1844 by Julius Borrow. By Julius Borrow, and this Julius Borrow obtained it as a mineral which was found from excreta of seabird, and that mineral was known as was used as fertilizers. So this is very famous about guanine, that they were obtained by Julius Bodo as a mineral formed from excreta of seabirds, and this mineral was used as a fertilizer. So now if we see here the structure of guanine, we see it is again the 9-ring structure, but it is something different than adenine. How that here at the carbon number 6, the guanine has keto group, while we saw that in the case of adenine, at carbon number 6, that was amino group. So here keto group is present, and at the carbon number yes, and we see that if we see like the case of the formula for the guanine, here in case of guanine, amino group is also attached. At carbon number 2, and like if we count the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen and nitrogen's number, so it would be like we see CHNO. So how many C's are there? 1 2 3 4 5 C. Hydrogen atoms are 1 2 3 4, and here also at N1H 1 2 3 4 5. 1H will be here. So 1 2 3 4 5 C5 H5 and NR 1 2 3 4 5 N. And how many oxygen atoms are there? There is only one. So C5H5 N5O. While the case of, if you see the case of adenine, there were C5H5 and N5 in numbers. Oxygen was not available. But the case of thymine, if we were seeing that, then there we had 2 oxygen atoms. Like this we can compare them also. Now, and how we can name the guanine is on the basis of presence of keto and amino group. We can say that at the carbon number 2 it has amino group, no, so we'll write that it is having amino group at the carbon number 2, so 2 amino we'll say. And at carbon number 6 keto group is present, so 6 keto, because it is purine, so we'll write purine. 2 amino, 6 keto, purine is the we can say it's the name for the guanine. And the cytosine, about cytosine, if we see the structure here, it is 6 membered ring structure. And if we see here at carbon number 2 it has ketone group present, and at carbon number 4 it has amino group present. So how we can name it? We can say 2 keto 4 amino pyrimidine. 2 keto. Can you see here at the carbon number 2 amino group is present, and here the carbon number 2 keto group is present, and at the carbon number 4 there is amino group present. So we'll write 2 keto 4 amino pyrimidine. And what can be the formula for this one? Let us count how many C are there. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. So the formula for this one would be C4, and how many H are there? 1 2 3 4 5 H. And how many N are there? That is let us count 1 2 and 3 N are there. And how many O are there? That is only 1 at the carbon number 2 because of the presence of keto group. So let us see how they join together or they combine together. So here we see that at the carbon number 4 of thymine and carbon number 6 of guanine, there is oxygen group present at the C6 of the guanine and the amino group present at the C4 of the cytosine. So the oxygen and nitrogen here, they are electronegative negative at atoms, but their electronegativity is different because this nitrogen is having hydrogen atoms which is lacking in case of oxygen here in the case of guanine. So what will happen that this nitrogen will share, will donate its hydrogen atom to oxygen. So here the amino group is the donor. And then we see that here in case of the C2 of guanine and C2 of cytosine, here also the same case is there here, but C2 of the guanine has the amino group which will donate is H plus to the O of the keto group of the cytosine. So now here this one is acceptor. So cytosine has one acceptor and one donor group. Now let us see about the third bond, which is actually the weaker bond. Why weakest bond? Why it is weakest? We'll see here that here in case of cytosine, what happens? The bond which is this bond, which is found between C2 and C3, it is deficient in here the H plus is deficient in electrons. So and the bond here is it is not the stable one, and it will keep on shifting electron from one place to another. Sometimes it comes here, then again it comes here. If it is deficient, it will take this hydrogen. If it is deficient, it will take electrons from here. Like this it will get shifting. So because of shifting, if it is making bond with someone, so it may not be stabilized. Maybe later on it will again donate its electron to this place, this bond. So that time the bond will get break or will be weakest one to break anytime. So that is why the bond number 3 or the pairing which is taking place in case of guanine and cytosine at this stage is the weakest one. They will form a bond, but we are not sure of this hydrogen atom. It may again come back to this, or again it will take its position. It is very difficult to say like at which position it is fine. The electron atoms, sometimes it is taking, sometimes it is giving. That is why this is the weakest bond which is formed between G and C. Like this, there is no other chance to make bond with any electronegative atom. Only these ones were left. So this one was left. So this was a third bond. So like this we see that there are three bonds formed between G and C and two bonds formed between A and T. So the main thing which we have to keep in mind is that to make form the atoms should be electronegative, which are making bond between each other, and that electronegativity should be different, like we saw in case of both AT and GC pairing. And now we see that I also told you that we'll see about the hydrogen bonding. What do we mean by hydrogen bonding, why it is essential, and what are the factor influencing the hydrogen bonding. So the hydrogen bonding, this was the hydrogen bonding which we did in case of pairing between AT and GC. So the last topic is hydrogen bonding. So hydrogen bonding, first of all we should know what is hydrogen bonding. It is a non-covalent bond which is formed due to the sharing of hydrogen atoms, as we saw in the pairing of nitrogenous bases, between two electronegative atoms of different electronegativity. I think this is very clear what is hydrogen bond, but one thing I'll clear here, that is non-covalent bond. What is non-covalent bond? A bond which is which does not involve any sharing of electron pair. So hydrogen bond is a, first of all, it is a covalent bond. Oh sorry, non-covalent bond. Non-covalent bond. Why it is non-covalent bond? Because it does not involve sharing of electron pairs. Here we saw in case of GC and AT also that electron pair were not shared. Only hydrogen atoms were shared between two electronegative atoms that were of different electronegativity. Now, what are the factors which affect this hydrogen bonding? Factors affecting. As I told you, the main factor which affect the formation of this hydrogen bond is differential electronegativity of bonded atoms. And number 2 is the nature of medium, in like what kind of solvent is there where that hydrogen bond is formed. Nature of solvent. Temperature. Is the third factor which affects the or influence the electronegativity, hydrogen bonding formation. Then number 4 is nature and size of the bonded atoms, as we saw in case of AT and GC. Like if they have, like we saw in the case of adenine, we can say that N having 2H amino group was there, no? So because it was having 2H, so it was able to share its hydrogen atom with the oxygen, which was not having any hydrogen. So it depends on the nature and size also. So if someone asks us why adenine forms only two hydrogen bonds with thymine, so we could say that it can form only two bonds because adenine has one hydrogen atom donor and one is acceptor, and similar in case of thymine also. That's why they can form two bonds with each other. And then what is the significance of this hydrogen bonding? Why it is essential? So first, which is very like we have seen here in the case of base pairing, the first major force है which is stabilizing the DNA helix structure is the or the secondary structure of RNA. It lies in the base pairing. So if we want कि कोई DNA double helical structure stabilize हो और the secondary structure of RNA to be stabilized, so for that the main जो factor है, that is the pairing between the nitrogenous bases, which we saw. So it is we can say the hydrogen bond which we saw was formed between AT and GC. They are the major stabilizing force. मेजर उसको स्टेबल करता है स्ट्रक्चर को. हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग इज द मेजर स्टेबलाइजिंग फोर्स ऑफ DNA एंड इवन द सेकेंडरी स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ RNA. इसको स्टेबलाइज करने के लिए हाइड्रोजन बेस पेयरिंग की बहुत ज़रूरत है. एंड सेकेंड, हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग इज़ वेरी इसेंशियल. एंड सेकेंड इज इट इज़ ऑल्सो रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द secondary structure of a polypeptide. There also we see that they all are joined together with the help of hydrogen bonds. Peptides are connected together. And then solvent nature of water is because of hydrogen bonding. This is very easy, or the usual significance of the hydrogen bonding. The solvent nature of water is because of H bonding between वाटर मॉलिक्यूल्स. उनके बीच में जो उनको कनेक्ट करके रखता है, दैट इज़ हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग. एंड दिस इज़ ऑल अबाउट द हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग, वाई इट इज़ necessary, why it is significant, and what are the factors affecting this. In the next class we'll see that the bonding we have seen today, is it always like this, like A, T and GC, or some other cases are also there? So we'll study about that, which is very interesting. And it is, sometimes it comes in the higher classes, the question like what is why the A sometimes form base, sometimes pairs with some other base. So what are the cause for that, and what is the term used for that, we'll see in the next class. So stay tuned with me.